I never get tired of that intro, and I don't know what that says about me. Hello everyone, Big Clingy here, and welcome to...
Fire Emblem Engage!
My new favorite Fire Emblem game since Radiant Dawn. Engage really gets to what the essence of Fire Emblem gameplay should be, in a way the series, in my opinion, hasn't reached for a very long time. I'm here to show that off to you, and also maybe get some of you to reevaluate the story a little. So, let's get into a new game. We start by selecting a form for the character who I thought I would hate, but ended up loving. Now, technically speaking, female Aaliyah is objectively better, not because their base stats are any different, that's actually a myth, but because there is exactly one class that is female exclusive. However, it's an unpromoted class, and its promoted form is not gender-locked, so honestly, gender doesn't really matter. Everything else about Aaliyah is exactly the same, regardless of gender, including supports and romance options, so just choose whoever you want. I'm gonna go with male Aaliyah because I like their voice more. And we're gonna name them their default name, Aaliyah, because more than any other avatar, Aaliyah is very much their own character, and it's something that I really like about them. And as for birthday, I'm just gonna make sure to choose a date that I'll be able to record on. Birthday doesn't really matter except for, like, just a couple of changed greetings in the base on that day. Now, difficulty. The difficulty modes in this game I feel are fairly balanced. Normal is a pretty casual experience for those who just want to get through the game. Hard is relatively challenging, especially by modern Fire Emblem standards, but not too difficult, while maddening is very difficult but also quite well balanced, and I can reasonably get through a lot of maddening, and I'm not somebody who plays on maddening levels often. But for this playthrough, I will be going for hard. And of course, we have the choice between casual and classic mode, but really, it doesn't matter a whole ton because of a mechanic that will be introduced a few chapters in. I'll choose classic anyway. Growth type. Yes, fixed growth mode is back. It hasn't been seen since Path of Radiance. It's not quite as obtuse as that game, mostly just means that characters gain the same stats on level ups. It's very good for speedruns or if you want consistency, but I personally feel that random is more fun for an LP, so I'll be going for random. Now the thing about this is, normally you have to beat the game once to unlock fixed mode, but on maddening it's the opposite. You have to beat maddening on fixed before you're allowed to play it on random. Which definitely shows how well balanced maddening difficulty is. And yeah, I'll play connected to the network. I'm not going to be covering a whole lot of network features, but there is an aspect of normal map gameplay that it affects that I will want to show off. With everything all set, it's time for the Pepsi Lord to start their journey.
Almost time.
We can handle this.
Keep them back!
We won't lose! Not today!
Keep going! You can do this! Our final battle lies ahead. Now, it's time to engage. Let's go. One last battle and the war will be over. The others fought hard to clear a path for us. We can't let them down.
It's time to solo the final boss, I guess.
You're here, at your end. This place will be your tomb.
Fun fact, same voice actor as Zealot from Fire Emblem Heroes. I always knew he was evil incarnate. In joke from my old Fire Emblem days.
Move in. I'll remain by your side.
I don't know why we're getting tutorials since it's the final battle, but oh well. Something that I really like about the way that Engage handles movement, this was optional in 3 houses, but you get to directly control your characters with the analog stick up to the boundaries of their movement, and then confirm their destination. I don't know why, but
I've got
this just feels really immersive to me. It's kind of hard to describe, but I think it works more naturally than you'd expect. And of course, our only real option here is to wait.
You have no hope of defeating me, not even with your emblem.
You have no chance to survive, make your time! And yes, we take turns, just like most turn-based strategy games. Now this game is a lot more player phase focused than enemy phase focused, but we won't really see why here. Didn't even decide to attack, huh?
He's within reach now. We can strike.
So since Aaliyah is a melee sword user, he has to be next to the enemy to attack. But before we do attack, I want to show off the stats and how they work. We can go ahead and press the X button here to view these. Now, the stats of weapons in this game will actually show your default to the character's full combat stats while equipping that weapon. But here we can see physical attack, hit, avoid. I'll go over these in a moment. Because firstly, the other stats. Strength affects damage with physical attacks. You add that to the weapon's might to get your attack power. From this we can tell that his sword has 10 might. Magic is the same thing, but for magical weapons and attacks. Dexterity affects accuracy and also slightly affects critical rate. It also affects some skill activation rates. Speed increases avoid, and I love how they're transparent about this. You need 5 or more speed than the enemy to double attack. Defense. Your defense is subtracted from the enemy's physical attack power to get the damage you take, and the same thing for resistance with magical attacks. Luck reduces the enemy critical rate and also slightly influences your evasion. Rating is just the summary of all of your stats. Let's go over our enemy before we fight them too. Despite seeming to be an evil dragon, they're using a tome, which is kind of cool. An unidentified enemy, an evil aura radiates from this Chad. You may notice here that there is the speed stat is marked in red. The speed stats here already take into account the penalty from weapon rates, and that's the weapon's weight minus your build stats. So, despite being a Chad, he's not bulky enough to wield his own signature spell without being weighed down. That's sad. The reason why I've gone over those stats there is because they're not really that necessary. One of my favorite things about Fire Emblem Engage is you can see basically everything you need to understand combat right from that ribbon on the bottom of the screen. Physical attack, hit rate, defense, speed, avoid. The only thing that's missing that I'd like to be there is critical rates. Also, you get a visual indicator of just how much HP we're going to lose and the enemy will lose once we attack. And it looks like we're going to come out of this combat worse. So, Aaliyah, you'd better have a strategy for this, because this is not looking good.
To die here was ever your destiny. The rings are mine.
Okay, Sauron. You may notice though that meter next to Aaliyah filled up by 1 when we engaged in combats. And speaking of engage...
It's time. Engage!
It's time for the main mechanic of this game. When your engage meter is full, you can merge with your emblem and enter a sort of a super mode for a few turns. The engage state lasts for 3 turns, specifically.
Stay strong.
And I really hope this engage is enough to let us win this fight, because it better.
The time has come.
Now, as one. Emblem, engage!
Behold, the true Super Saiyan Marth! Tokyo Mirage Sessions has nothing on this. Disclaimer, I still kind of enjoy that game.
We are now connected and can unleash a powerful attack. Together!
Every emblem has its own engage attack. This doesn't consume your engage meter, but it can only be used once per engagement, so make sure you use it at least once before these 3 turns wear off. So here, we have to use Lodestar Rush to unleash 9 attacks at 30% of our base damage. We also have access to the Falchion via our engage with Marth. It's effective against dragons and also slightly boosts our might and hit rates compared to this sword, but also lowers our speed. Not that that matters because this is a guaranteed barrage of attacks. You can press the L and R buttons to cycle through your weapons, so you'll notice that I'm doing 1 less damage with the other weapon, but we still win regardless. May as well go for Falchion.
My prayers are with you.
Aaliyah has actually mastered Marth's side B that took me years to figure out.
Foolish. You have nothing to celebrate. You are weakness itself. You will never defeat me.
And that's over. Just a quick tutorial battle against the final ultimate boss. Okay then.
Thanks to you, this world is saved. And my work here is complete.
You sure? That guy's last words sounded very inconclusive.
Know that I will always be with you, and that we will stand together again, as we did this day. If ever we cross paths again, I hope you will remember me. Indeed, that you will remember all of us who took up arms to fight by your side. The 12 emblems.
And, you know, the actual members of our army who use those 12 emblems, they're important too. And with that, let's save our game and progress to the real game.
Where am I?
Huh?
Whoa. Tell me you're seeing this. Hello there. And you are?
You're awake!
Huh?
You're really awake, yeah?
You're the Divine Dragon!
No way!
No way! The Divine Dragon is finally awake! Hey, hold on.
Well, the Divine Dragon is awake. Not sure why that's a big deal, but let's talk about them.
Here until the end.
Aaliyah is required for every chapter, and their death means a game over. So, what do they bring to the table? Well, their starting stats are enough to hold their own, but they won't be killing enemies in one round of combat without emblem support. Their growth rates, the percentage chance of each stat raising on a level up, mostly skew towards dexterity and speed, letting them hit reliably and double attack often, but their low strength growth holds them back from doing a ton of damage. What is notable though is their surprisingly high defense growth, especially in their default class, for an on-foot sword lord. Which is good for someone you need to keep alive, and someone who has great support abilities, such as their personal skill. Every character in Engage has one of these, and Aaliyah's is divinely inspiring, which causes adjacent allies to deal +3 damage and take 1 less damage. This might not sound like much, but it's very useful, especially early in the game. On someone who's attacking twice, that's effectively +6 damage, and that's a lot. That -1 damage taken helps more than you think too. This skill is also nice because supports in Engage require units to be adjacent to get their bonuses, and Aaliyah supports every character in the game. There's one more thing I'd like to draw attention to in Aaliyah's base kit, because it's a very significant one. Their starting proficiencies. In Engage, what weapons you can use are dictated entirely by your class, but a character's proficiency is determined what classes they can reclass into. Every character starts with some, and can learn more through emblems. Aaliyah's starting proficiencies are swords, and punching, fist, arts. Whatever you want to call it, this is huge. Because without DLC, you don't get access to an emblem that teaches art proficiency until chapter 14. And this means Aaliyah is one of only 3 characters until that point who has access to art-based classes. An important note though, Aaliyah's starting class, Dragon Child, is not one of these. They need to reclass in order to access them, but they are the only person with access to these reclasses for a very long time, and that in itself is a huge niche. So taking all that into account, what kind of unit is Aaliyah? Well, they're not a powerhouse without emblem support, though they do have exclusive access to 1 emblem for the first 3 chapters, making them your best combat unit until chapter 4. After that, there are 2 directions people like to take Aaliyah. The first is to patch up their strength growth and make them a stronger combat unit. A reclass to Wyvern Knight is generally used for this, as it also lets them fly. The other route is to make them more of a support unit. For this, you can either reclass them to a fist-based class, which has a special ability I'll be covering in chapter 2, that Aaliyah makes excellent use of as it stacks well with their personal skill and supporting everyone. Or you keep them in their default Dragon Child and later Divine Dragon classes. These are unique to Aaliyah and come with the Dragon unit type. The Dragon type gets unique benefits from every emblem in the game, and some of these, especially on the support emblems, are very useful. But moreover, this ensures Aaliyah is a good user of every emblem, which makes them one of the most versatile members of the army, able to fill any role you need depending on the chapter. So, to those who want flexibility, I'd recommend keeping Aaliyah in their default classes. To those who want more of an unparalleled support unit, I'd recommend reclassing to Key Adept. And for those who want the main character to be a combat powerhouse like they are in some other Fire Emblem games, I'd recommend Wyvern Knight. Overall, Aaliyah is excellent for the first few chapters, but requires a bit of work and thought to do decently after that point. But as somebody you're forced to use, that work is worth it.
Calm down, you two. What's all of this ruckus about? Divine Dragon.
Hi there, I remember you from that early leak that turned out to be spot on.
It's a miracle. An utter miracle. The Divine One awake at long last. That I might live to see you standing before me. What an honor.
Not to be rude, but who are you?
Ah, apologies. I lost myself for a moment there. My name is Vander. I am the 32nd steward of the dragon.
Hello, Sir Vander?
Oh, my Divine One! There is no need to address me as such. Simply Vander will do.
Ah, yes, typical Japanese honorific talk that sounds a little awkward when translated.
See? I told you the divine dragon was awake.
Yeah, we were telling the truth.
You two. I don't believe I got your names.
Well, actually we did thanks to the text interface, but Aaliyah can't see that.
Oh, sorry. We were so excited we forgot to introduce ourselves. We're the 33rd Stewards of the Dragon. My name's Clan. Pleased to meet you.
So wait, collectively you're the 33rd, or are you the 33rd and 34th?
And I'm Fram. We're twins. We've been waiting forever for you to wake up.
As stewards of the dragon, our mission is to protect and provide for you.
And given how you're dressed, one of you looks a lot more appropriate for that job.
Generation after generation of our predecessors waited for you to rise from your slumber.
Imagine how much it would suck to be given this prestigious job, and then have to spend your entire lifetime with your, like, the person you're trying to protect just asleep the whole time. Like, what would you even do to occupy yourself?
I'll admit, I am astonished to see it has finally happened.
Like, 31 people went through that.
You see, 1,000 years have passed since the first steward took their post.
1,000 years? That's how long I've been asleep?
Indeed. Your mother, Lumera, the divine dragon monarch, has long awaited this day.
Okay, I really like this. So, just a bit of context here. Divine Dragon Monarch is the way that Naga was always referred to historically in Fire Emblem, but they used to translate this as Divine Dragon King, even though some incarnations of Naga have been female. Now they've finally translated this term as gender neutral, the way it was always meant to be.
Finally, you, a divine dragon yourself, have awakened. This surely signifies great things.
Slow down. This monarch you mentioned, she's my mother?
And I'm a divine dragon, you called it?
Oh, dear. Is your memory hazy, Divine One?
Uh-oh, I guess you're affected by the Avatar Amnesia curse. I mean, it's still better than Byleth not having amnesia and yet acting like it.
I know my name, but that's about it.
You can't remember anything else?
Maybe you're just feeling groggy because of all that sleep.
But I don't even know who I am.
Fret not. Such lapses in memory are to be expected after sleeping for so long. If I may, you are a divine dragon, a member of a royal family of dragons revered as deities.
How do we know we can trust you? For all we know, you could just be lying to us to mold us into whatever you want.
Queen Lumera, the divine dragon monarch, rules over the holy land of Lethos. In the war 1,000 years ago, she defeated and imprisoned the wicked, fell dragon. You, Divine One, are her only child.
Somehow she only had one child in 1,000 years.
The war. The fell dragon. I feel like I can almost remember, but...
Please, do not trouble yourself trying to bring it all back at once. Your memories will return in time. You are a being of immense power. A deity, no less.
Actually, as I kind of went over in Aaliyah's bio, they're not really that powerful.
I have heard many a tale of your kindness, nobility, and bravery. Your unflinching heroism.
That was 1,000 years ago, though, so who knows how accurate those stories are.
That's a lot to live up to.
For now, let us head to Lethos Castle. Queen Lumera will be thrilled to see you. Perhaps the reunion will help stir your memories.
I hope so.
Okay then. Onward and downward.
To Lethos Castle!
Well, this place looks nice at least. Lethos just sounds like rock to me.
All this time, I've been sleeping in the sky?
And I suppose this is a very rocky land.
You have, yes. The place where you slumbered is known as the Somniel,
And that relates to words about sleep.
a fortress built upon an airborne island to ensure your safety. It is perhaps the most secure place in all of Helios. Only a select few can set foot there.
I see. And you three live there with me.
Yep. As stewards, we spend our time caring for you. And managing things around the Somnio.
And playing lots and lots of card games, because you probably get very bored.
It's a sacred place, so we work as hard as we can to keep it shipshape.
Royal family members visit us all the time. Well, visit you, really. The Prince and Princess of Firene, a deeply religious country, visit especially often.
Okay, so I guess the earlier stewards at least had something to do.
They pray next to you, like this. Then they just talk for a while, like they're chatting to a friend.
To me, this actually sums up Aaliyah quite well. You might be worried about, like, literal avatar worship, but most people do just treat Aaliyah as a friend.
I see. Thanks for filling me in, Fram. You too, Clan.
The Divine One said our names! And thanked us!
But, this will give you the wrong impression, because Fram is very much the exception.
I think I'm going to faint! Unless I already did. Am I dreaming?
And kinda Clan. They're, you know, massive. They're our biggest fans, literally.
Need I remind you that you are in the presence of the Divine Dragon? How many times must I tell you to behave in a manner befitting your station?
And don't mention the fan club!
Divine One, please, forgive this embarrassing breach of decorum.
This just reminds me of that line. Please forgive Masters, Clan, and Fran. They are idiots. We purposefully trained them wrong as a joke.
Breach of decorum? I'm actually enjoying their enthusiasm.
See, it's performances like this that just... I really like Aaliyah's vocal performance. He just sounds so endearing is just the only word I can use.
You're just as kind-hearted as I always imagined.
It turns what might have been a generic character into something a lot more.
Oh, look! There it is!
Lithos Castle. The Divine Dragon Monarch is there, you said?
Yes. I suppose 1,000 years have passed since you've been home.
Don't worry. We'll be right there with you.
You can hold my hand if you like.
Thank you.
If Aaliyah holds his hand, he's probably never going to wash his hand again.
How long have I been wearing this ring? Since before I fell asleep? That blue stone. It reminds me of something.
And suddenly zombies!
What are those horrible things?
Vander, are creatures like that common around here?
They're not. I've never seen them. Nor have I heard of such monsters appearing in Lithos before. This is a land of peace.
Understood. Well,
Shall we fight them? As you wish, Divine One. You whose bravery knows no equal.
no, let's run.
Huh?
We haven't the slightest idea who they are, and we don't know how they came to be here. Also, they worry me for some reason. So, we run!
Well, did the Divine Dragon really command me to retreat?
Okay, get to safety.
We'll keep them distracted for you!
What the? Come back! Come back this instant!
I thought we told you to run! Not get yourself axing backed.
This isn't looking good.
And the healer just ran right into a bunch of axemen.
Fram! Hold on! We shall come to you!
And so we're already going to begin battle. I do like this. As much as those monsters just kind of appeared out of nowhere in the middle of a cutscene, I like that they're getting straight to the gameplay action.
Vander!
Divine One, stay back. It's too dangerous.
Maybe for those two, but not for us.
Clan and Fram were trying to protect me. I have to help them.
Even if Fram was being a little bit dumb by running in despite being a healer.
I take back what I said. This is no time to run. Please, let me fight.
All right, but stay on your guard.
I will.
What are these creatures doing in Lithos?
This song is called Far Away Holy Land, and it's amazing. One of my favorite early game map themes in the series.
We had best use the foliage to take cover.
And terrain. Terrain in this game mostly provides bonuses to evasion, so it can be unreliable, but let's just say there are some ways to increase the reliability of terrain avoid in Engage. Also, yes, thickets also cost more movement for ground to pass through. I wish, like Advance Wars, Fire Emblem made it clear how much movement it costs to go through terrain, but it doesn't. Generally speaking, thickets cost more movement for cavalry to go through than for infantry. And yeah, you can see that in the UI in this game is pretty great. So like here we can see that as 30 avoid, but also if we look at the UI here, we can already see which skills are in effect for which characters. Like Aaliyah's Divinely Inspiring is effective on Vander right now, but also we have a different skill that's effective on both Vander and Aaliyah. So in order to show that, let's talk about Vander.
I am your shield.
Vander's job is to act as a crutch and bodyguard for your weaker characters in the early game, fading into the background once they've come into their own. Historically, Fire Emblem has had a problem balancing characters of this type, as they often end up a little too useful throughout the entire game, invalidating the characters they're supposed to prop up. Vander, however, is a return to form for the archetype, although some may say he succeeded a bit too well. Vander's starting stats are almost perfect, so that he weakens enemies without killing them, regardless of the difficulty you're playing on. This lets the lower level members of your army in the early game finish off these enemies to level up. Vander also has the best HP and defense of your army for a while, and his speed is just high enough that he doesn't often get doubled where it matters, making him an excellent tank for luring tough enemies into more manageable positions. And starting as a paladin, a promoted mounted class, means he has enough movement to get where he's needed too. Vander only uses axes, which is atypical of this archetype, which means his accuracy can suffer against faster enemies or those in cover, but Vander's main job is not to hit things, so I don't find this a huge problem. What can be a problem is, oddly, his personal skill. +5 crit to Aaliyah is nice, but this also applies to Vander himself, and most of the time you really don't want Vander critting things, because if he does, he will kill them, and if he kills them, he gets almost no experience due to his massive internal level of 15. This is actually the main problem with Vander. His growth rates aren't that bad, but because he gains so little experience, by the time he does level up even once, the rest of your army will likely have surpassed him. And as I said before, this is the point of Vander, but it happens a little earlier than some players would like. For me, I tend to drop Vander around chapter 7 or 8. Vander is perfectly usable throughout the whole game if you like him. As I said, his growths aren't that bad. You just need to find a solution to his experience problem. But I've heard many say Vander is terrible just because he falls off early. He's amazing until that point, and I would highly recommend using him a lot. The early chapters are much smoother with him around. Now, we are supposed to attack this enemy with Aaliyah, but, okay then. Like, the way that... There's actually a few ways to tackle this chapter. I think for now, I'm going to be sending Vander up to the north towards those other two enemies. So yeah, units have various types. These are really important because in Engage, classes are divided into class types, and each class type has its own power. The class power of Cavalry, which we'll see in a moment, is simply having higher movement than everyone else, and that's it. So Cavalry have been slightly nerfed in this game. They only have 1 point of movement above their equivalent promoted or unpromoted classes on foot. However, sometimes that is all you need. Maps in Engage are relatively small, especially the early ones. So as you can see here, Vander is perfect for weakening enemies for somebody else like Aaliyah to finish off. If I have Vander attack one of these enemies here, you'll notice the one in the thicket has much worse of a hit rate against it, so I'll go for this one. The other one will probably attack him on the enemy phase, and then Aaliyah will be able to finish off both of them. Now, Vander doesn't really gain a whole lot of experience after attacking.
Here goes.
But yeah, Alear himself can go for this guy. Now, normally, attacking with a sword against an axe would do something, but that mechanic is turned off for this first battle only.
There are too many of them. Divine One, get out of here!
I, the cleric, shall protect you! Yes, that's a very smart idea. Well, actually, it kind of is an Engage, but we'll cover that later. Go, 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 go. Me, random axe guy. Me attack Jagged and die. Yeah. So yeah, Alear takes 3 hits to kill these, but one big hit from Vander combined with 1 hit from Alear should be able to finish them. Another thing about hit rates in Engage is they seem to follow a formula where, also Clan Fram gonna run away now, where hit rates above 50% are more likely to hit than hit rates 50 or below, which only use 1 RN. So evade tanking is not that reliable here, however, it actually kind of is. Basically, you can make an evade tank build, you just need a lot of evasion to make full use of it.
Fram, are you alright?
Clan, Fram, it's not safe for you here. Retreat to the castle.
So in general, you will notice a lot of...
These enemies are formidable indeed.
Like, middle-of-the-road hit rates, like 50 to 70, they hit more often than they might, and they do hit decently often, and even hit rates for around 30 to 40 aren't unreliable in Engage. It's anything 20 or below that's more likely to miss.
Divine One, please use a vulnerary if you are wounded.
Yes, that very nasty wound we just got of nothing. But yeah, one cool thing about Engage is most characters start out with a vulnerary. So here
Yes,
I'm going to order Vander to attack this guy, even though he might miss. But like I said, even hit rates hovering around 50 are actually not unreliable in Engage. I say that and then I miss. But yeah, he missed with a 71, so it kind of averages out. Here, I think I'm going to... You can see enemy aggro lines too. But this guy will die if he attacks Alear, and I believe the other guy will also die, so if I put Alear in a position where both of those enemies will attack him, then they'll both end up dying and he'll get all the experience from that. And I'm going to go here, even though it's a little back. This ensures that neither of them can attack from the defensive terrain. Because I don't really want anything to miss Alear.
I gotta protect Fram. You rotten monsters, don't scare me.
Well, I mean, he's only 3 hit killed by them, which is pretty good for a mage, so yeah, that's okay. So yeah, I don't want Alear to be missing any of these, so I'm going to let them attack while his hit rate is good. Kind of an interesting one-liner, but it works. So I mean to use a vulnerary soon. Even then...
I won't forget you.
Even on Maddening, these enemies aren't, like, super dangerous. So,
Here until the end.
Vander is still able to reach this guy, so might as well. I love this part of the song. And now I suppose... Okay, with my foreknowledge, I'm not going to use a vulnerary here. But like I said, Fram is 3 hit killed, so that's very good.
More enemies.
They just keep coming.
And they don't stop coming.
You're all trying to protect me. I should be protecting you. If only I could. Somehow.
Yes, if only there was a way for Alear to become a stronger combat unit. Even if only temporarily. Apparently his name is pronounced as a heavy breath.
Huh? You must remember. Who said that?
Mysterious Yuri Lowenthal!
The ring.
Know that my strength can be yours.
I know that voice.
If ever we cross paths again, I hope you will remember me. Indeed, that you will remember all of us who took up arms to fight by your side.
The 12 emblems.
Divine One? Divine One! You mustn't do this alone!
Don't worry! Please! I'm not alone! Help me. Lend me your strength in this fight. Shine on! Emblem of Beginnings!
I am known as Marth. Emblem Marth, to be clear.
Emblem Marth specializes in evasion tanking, dealing with armored foes, and attacking multiple times. Wearing his ring grants boosts to strength, dexterity, and speed, all the stats a combat unit wants, along with his sync skills. The starting one, Perceptive, incentivizes attacking enemies on the player phase by granting plus 15 avoid, and sometimes a little more. Since you won't get this on the enemy phase, use this against dangerous foes that you can't afford to take a hit from. At Bond level 3, he gains Break Defenses, which allows his equipper an additional attack if they break the foe. The break mechanic is introduced next chapter, but like Perceptive, it only applies to the player phase. Against an enemy you have weapon triangle advantage against, this extra attack might be enough to turn a 2-round kill into a 1-round kill. Then at Bond level 7, you get Unyielding, which heals you if your HP is below 20% at the start of a turn. This is mostly useful in conjunction with Perceptive and some of Marth's other abilities to turn his holder into an evasion tank. When you choose to engage with Marth for 3 turns, you gain access to Divine Speed. Think of this as Break Defenses, except it's always active, and it stacks with that, giving you up to 2 additional attacks. Again, useful if you need just a bit more damage to finish an enemy. Once per engage, you can use Marth's Lodestar Rush, which launches 7 consecutive attacks at 30% damage. It's only usable with swords and only if you're directly adjacent to the enemy. In the early game, this is a delete one enemy button, so use this when you can against troublesome opponents to wipe them off the map before they can hurt you. As enemies get stronger, they're much less likely to be finished off by Lodestar Rush, but you never get counterattacked when using this skill, making it great for wearing down tough enemies like bosses at no risk to yourself. Every emblem's Engage skill and Engage attack gets special bonuses depending on the equipper's class type. For Marth, dragons heal damage from their Divine Speed attack, while covert units inflict poison with this. Poison in Engage doesn't damage enemies, it's a static debuff that increases damage they take by 1 for every stack of poison. And this really adds up when, say, hitting multiple times. Covert units are naturally adept at evade tanking, so they synergize well with Marth's other abilities too. For Lodestar Rush, dragons hit 9 times instead of 7, backup classes hit 8 times, and mystical units deal damage based on magic. Many emblems have bonuses with classes you might not think to try them on to encourage outside-the-box tactics. So experiment and see what works for you. While engaged with an emblem, you can also use their engage weapons, regardless of the weapons your class would normally be able to equip. For example, Vander could use these while engaged despite not normally having access to swords. The rapier is the one anyone has access to, and it's a pretty good one. The game doesn't tell you this, but it provides plus 20 avoid while equipped, which stacks very well with Perceptive. But it also has effectiveness against armored and cavalry enemies. The armored one is significant because in Engage, armored enemies are very tough and effective weapons or mages are the only practical way to kill them, making Marth one of your only answers to them in the early chapters. So make sure you send Marth's user to wherever the armored enemies are located. At Bond rank 10, the highest that an emblem can achieve right now, Marth gains the Mercurius, which is a bit stronger than the Rapier, though a lot heavier, but while equipped, it doubles all experience gained. Mercurius gives Marth another use on top of the rest of his kit: snowballing early game characters. If you have somebody that you would really like to make good, get them to bond 10 with Marth ASAP and have them use Mercurius. Their levels will go crazy, and by the mid-game, they'll be well ahead of the rest of the curve. Early access to Marth and Mercurius snowballing is actually one of the biggest assets the early joining characters in Engage have over the later ones, so if you really like someone in the starting chapters, I would recommend trying this out with them. An important thing to note about Marth is he is locked to Alear until Chapter 4, but this does make Alear the biggest powerhouse you have until then. After that point, give Marth to somebody that you want to make an evasion tank out of, someone who needs just a little more damage to finish off enemies, or someone you want to level up quickly. Do I get experience for that? Sadly not.
We did it! Thanks for your help, Marth. Truly.
Of course. It is good to see you. I was able to answer your call because you remembered me.
Do my eyes deceive me? Or is that an emblem of legend?
Clam! Fram! Get to safety, now!
Right!
With your help, Marth, we might just make it. Will you join us?
Little do these guys know that generic axe bandits are the ultimate prey of the original Fire Emblem Lord.
Of course. I will fight alongside you from here forward. Your ally until the very end.
It's important to know the difference between being synced and being engaged. Being synced means simply wearing the ring. A character who is synced with an emblem will always have access to a certain skill, in Marth's case, Perceptive. It increases Avoid by plus 15, but only when you initiate combat. This is why I said this game is very player phase focused. Most emblem skills are. So, here we see Alear synced with Marth. You also have the option to engage with Marth. Now, I've already gone over Marth previously, so this is just reiterating what we already know. Marth is great for dodge tanking, for using swords, for killing armored enemies, and for patching up somebody's combat by letting them hit multiple times. So, if we're simply synced with Marth and decide to attack here, we're not going to one-round this enemy. But if we press engage...
Emblem Engage!
These animations can be skipped, by the way. And there is another way to make them faster, but I'll show that a little bit later. While engaged, we can use Marth's Rapier, and that means I do one-round this guy. So let's go for it. Actually, no. Oh, okay, yeah, it is a guy. One thing interesting about Engage is...
I live to fight again.
Is that generic female enemies are a lot more common than they are in other games in the franchise. Now, I could move Vander in, but, actually, wait, no, I will move him in, because if he's adjacent to Alear, then Alear gets plus 5 to crit. Wow, you actually hit Alear with Marth? That's really impressive.
I cannot afford to lose.
Too bad you've now been redeaded. And as there's only one enemy left on this map, no reason not to end this with our Engage Attack Lodestar Rush. Again, you can cycle through things with L and R, but the Rapier is going to do a lot more damage.
Fate has brought us here. fight again.
Oh, I hate it when that happens. So, my only issue with with Chapter 1 of this game is that Aaliyah is not guaranteed to level up, depending on how you play it. I do wish they were, because that would have introduced the level up mechanic here too. But yes, we've now raised our bond level with emblems. Think of that as a secondary form of leveling. Now, one important thing to note is this skill right here. We do not have this skill yet. This is a skill you need to inherit, and we don't have access to that mechanic for a little bit. I do wish the game was a little clearer about this. It says unit gain stats and access to new effects. There are some skills that are sync skills. These ones you will have access to immediately, but other skills are inheritable skills, which you don't until you inherit them. Again, I still wish Aaliyah leveled up there. And yeah, that chapter didn't really last that long. That's a cool thing about Engage. For the most part, chapters are quite short.
Divine One. Vander. Thanks for saving us.
But I feel like they don't waste much time or space in terms of map design.
Yeah. And, sorry. This all happened because we ran ahead.
Well, at least you admit that.
I'm the one who should apologize. You put yourselves in danger trying to protect me. It's such a relief you're both safe now.
Divine One, I hear more enemies approaching.
More? I thought we'd gotten them all.
And these ones have lances, so not perfect prey for Marth.
Evidently not. These creatures, will there be no end to them?
There's more? And they've got a dragon?
Don't worry, they wouldn't have you fight a dragon in the first map. This is one of ours.
At last, you are awake. Is it really you?
Yes, it's me. Thank you for saving us.
What a joy it is to see you.
Huh?
I've waited for so long.
Hi, strange woman hugging us for no apparent reason.
Oh.
When I sensed you had awoken, I flew here as fast as my wings would carry me. I hope you're not hurt.
I'm fine.
What a relief. You cannot understand how I've missed you, my dear child.
Oh, you're my mother.
Oh, right, yeah, that's why you hugged me for no reason.
What's the matter? Don't tell me.
Since awakening, the Divine One's memory is clouded.
I see.
I'm sorry. I'm sure you weren't expecting this.
No, I must apologize. I was so overcome with joy. I hugged you as hard as I could.
I mean, not seeing your child for 1,000 years, I can understand that.
I take this to mean you've forgotten everything. I suppose it's to be expected. 1,000 years is a very long time.
Vander explained that I've been sleeping since some war that happened back then?
Yes. You suffered a terrible wound. And because of that...
A wound? I don't remember that. Or this world, or anything.
Don't fret, young one. I will speak to you of all you've forgotten. Regardless of what you remember, I'm simply glad to have you back, my dear child.
Still, this isn't the reunion you hoped for.
Oh, don't worry about me. It's solace enough just to hear that sweet voice of yours, and to gaze once more into your eyes. What lovely colors they are.
Yes, red and blue together, which honestly, like, this is just a weird thing with me. I don't mind Aaliyah's design at all, and I don't really understand what the fuss people were making was about. Yeah, like, I'm just totally fine with it. I mean, there are characters with pink hair in this series. Natural pink and lime green hair. So, this is actually really cool. They let you explore, like, the fully modeled maps after a battle, and I thought I'd probably leave these in after most of the maps. You can also say hi to this bird here. If it'll let me. It is marked in orange, after all. Maybe it's not in a position for me to examine it. We can also dash with the R button, which is going to mess me up a few times, because some other games I've been playing have the R2 button as dash. But yeah, this is actually really cool. Like, they've fully modeled the maps ever since the DS Fire Emblem games, so this is a natural extension of that, just letting you walk around in them. Now, yeah, if we press the ZR button, we can cycle the map right here. Come on, there has to be a way for me to talk to this pigeon. Curse you, you have foiled me, pigeon! But you can also talk to everyone.
So great!
And yeah, unfortunately, this is the first Fire Emblem game since Echoes to not be fully voice acted, but all the story dialogue and all the supports are fully voice acted, and that's really all that matters.
Amazing!
Oh, no, don't worry, he's back in my ring. Yeah, just don't question that, he lives there now.
Thank you.
Oh yes, more enemies that you can just effortlessly one-shot. And so, now that we've reunited with apparently our mother, and seen what Marth, Vander, and Aaliyah can do, I think I'll leave departing to our next destination for next time. So, thank you all for watching, I hope you've enjoyed the start of Fire Emblem Engage, and I will see you next time for one of my favourite chapters, game mechanics-wise. Really looking forward to this one. And we also gained some new allies, and you may already know who they are. Hint, hint.